why don't we just jump in then? So,
Yeah.
in terms of how you boys started, Mark, if you want to start us off, where did you start? How did you get into music?
So, weirdly enough, I don't have that kind of story of, oh, I saw someone and really wanted to do that. It was more sort of like an after school thing. I think I was
Right.
8, which really shows how crap I am as a drummer that I saw when I was 8, and I'm at the level I am now. But I was 8, and it was just kind of like, like an after school thing through the Sefton Music Service. I played in like the wind orchestra and the percussion group.
Right.
And it honestly stayed like that for a few years until maybe 13, 14. At that point, I was playing ensembles, and then the school started like a battle of the bands.
Right.
And that's when everyone started going around saying, "Oh, you play drums, don't you? You play drums. You want to play in the band?" And that was when I got the bug, really. But yeah, and then that's how you meant, by the way, kind of like back to
Yeah. And where did it go from there?
From there, so just playing locally, just a load of DIY sorts of like little strip back gigs, and like building up to like playing in a few punk bands and a few funk bands of different genres, and that eventually getting a bit more into production.
Right.
Really got into the recording side of things and wanted to do that myself. So went to college, went to Hughes to do music technology.
Right. Yeah.
Then went to Leeds, got me a degree in music technology. And then when I came back to Liverpool, again, kind of went back into the DIY scene a little bit, like, again, just poking around, doing little odd things here and there, a couple of original bands, a few sessions. That's how I met José.
Right. I was going to ask that. Right.
Kind of like that kind of segues into how the Heavy North starts. It was a lot of stop and start bands, a lot of bands that did things, some that didn't. And then eventually meeting the boys and starting what we've been doing.
Fantastic. And José, obviously, same question, but over to you. Where did it all kind of begin for you?
Music-wise, I think I was about 12. It's always been like a Spanish guitar at home, but my dad never really played it. Only like occasionally he said to me, "Oh, I used to be in a band and that," but he used to tell me like his uncle was like a very famous flamenco player down south in Spain, in Granada. Right. And I remember I used to go to his uncle's house, which he wasn't alive at the time because he died before I was born. But his wife, which is my great auntie, I think, she was there. And I used to come in and she used to, like, I don't know, I think I reminded her a little bit of to him or whatever. And we used to have fun with all my little cousins and that. And then she used to say to me, "Oh, your uncle was a great uncle, was an amazing guitarist, and we used to dance flamenco in here in the old town of Granada and all that." And it kind of like get me thinking, I wish I could play something like that. So I wasn't really into flamenco at the time or anything. And then I think there is a Spanish film from the 50s, which is in black and white. And it was on TV. And I remember my mum saying, come over, you want to see your nan and her sisters dancing in this film. So they're dancing there, someone's playing the flamenco guitar, and that was him. Mm-hmm. So I thought, wow, he played really well. So then it got me thinking, I'd love to like play something. So and then I listened to the Beatles after that, because my dad was a very big fan. So he had like, cassettes and CDs and that. And he used to say to me, "Can you just burn this CD and 2 cassettes so we can listen in the car when we go, like, we can go traveling or whatever." So I used to listen to them, because you have to play and then obviously record it and then wait and listen to the whole thing to record the whole album. So I was there with my headphones. I was only little, but he knew I could, like, mess about with cassettes and that. So I was making the cassettes for the car. And then I went, "Oh, this is cool." And I couldn't really speak English, but I was just reading the lyrics and I was just learning the sounds. And I was like, "Oh, I love the sound of that. What's that?" "This is a guitar, electric guitar." He was telling me. So, okay. So then one day I was dead bored. We went for the weekend to this mountain cave house that my nan had. And I was there and I was like, "Oh, what can I do?" And I saw the guitar. I was like, "There's only 3 strings on it." I was like, "Okay, I'll give it a go." So he started like trying to get a melody that I was on TV. And it was a Beatles song. And then the day after, I said to my dad, "Can you just get me some strings?" And he went, "Yeah, we'll go to the town tomorrow and get some." And he got me a book. There's no internet in them times. We didn't even have a computer at home.
Wow.
So I was like, yeah. So he got me this book where you could see pictures of how you put your hands and explain, like, fingers 1, 2, 3, 4. So I started doing it, and I was like, I really like this. And then I got more into it. And then for that, I think the year after, I think it was 12th, Christmas time, I got an electric guitar.
Nice.
Only like a cheap one with a little amp. It sounded crap. but you know, it was great. I was like, oh my god, I was made up with it. And that's how it started. Then listening to, you know, putting the records and just trying to work out, because I didn't have any music theory or anything, so I just worked it out, you know, how the song was and what I could play, or jamming over it. And that's how it started, you know.
And then you boys obviously met. What was the inspiration behind the band name, the Heavy North?
What do you reckon? I think it was go on. I
was going to say we demystify this because there's been a couple of explanations and I can't really remember which one's true. On the one hand, go on, Jose. What were you going to say? Go ahead.
No, I think we were one day in the studio. I mean, the early days, and we didn't have a name. And I think you were all like, I was here on the computer, like maybe we'd done some recording. I can't remember. And then we were all chatting in the back. And I remember someone, Kenny or Ste, or someone said something about the North, and I really. Even I'm from South Spain, but I've been here a long time, so I kind of like I'm like an adopted Scouser, and my family, my little kids are from here because they were born in here. So I feel like I belong to this place as well. And someone said something about the North, and I really love, you know, the North, like the people, and you know, I don't know, I'm really comfortable in here. So I turned my head and I went, yeah, the North, what's that? And they went, the Heavy North, and I was like, ooh, and everyone went, I kind of like that name, but I can't remember how we got to that actual name.
I remember we were watching a lot of Game of Thrones.
At the time,
so,
yeah.
But it wasn't inspired by that though. We were throwing words out there. So things like, I think something about wolves was thrown out, the word North. So it wasn't inspired, but it was like the word North was thrown about. We were chatting about the song, saying, that's heavy, doesn't it? And then someone kind of just tied a load of stuff together. I think that's what it was. But loads of people go like there's a statement about the way the North is. I just know it's just a bunch of random words.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of banter in our band, and a lot of like, you know, funny moments, and Kenny's quite funny as well. And he was probably doing some kind of impression of Jon Snow when he was coming through the door. Like as we open the door, he comes in with this massive like coat, and you know, he'll say some kind of like phrase or whatever.
Because it was a few years ago. I just remember, like I said, it's not like a direct influence, but the word was being thrown about a lot. Like that, was it like winter, like the whole winter's coming meme sort of generation?
Yeah.
Like, just all that kind of that phrase was getting thrown about. So I remember that being tied to something. But yeah,
is that by any chance any kind of, because even the font of your lettering is kind of almost like, you know, like ice kind of. I see it as almost like it's like, you know, is that like winter? It makes me think of it, you know.
That's actually, if you talk about the one I think you're talking about, it's the sort of like sideways-y sort of like,
that's the one I'm thinking.
We actually lifted that from, so there's a lad that does a lot of artwork for us, not necessarily the album artwork. He's called C6 Sailor. His handle on Instagram, and he did a lot of limited edition prints for us so he did one for our first EP, which was like what would you say? It was like a comic book style kind of like panels to Jose, or like kind of like film noir style kind of like thing.
Yeah.
And then he did another one for the Camp and Furnace gig we did recently, which has now been adapted into the album cover of our live album.
Yeah, saw that.
But we just lifted the font from that. We needed something to drum and do also. So we asked him for we sort of like, that one there. Go ahead.
Can you see it?
That's it. That's the one.
That's the latest version of it, but we've lifted different versions of it from the artwork he did to use on logos and stuff.
Right.
I don't know where he got that from. That's his doing, C6 Sailor.
Interesting. It's so difficult trying to choose band names, isn't it? And trying to everybody comes at you with like, it's got to have a message, it's got to have a this, it's got to mean this and look like this, and like ultimately you just kind of settle on something that feels right and feels natural. And, you know, that's
I think that's when it doesn't mean anything though, because the meaning can change.
Yeah, definitely.
Like people have said the same thing to me about tattoos. It's like they wish they didn't get something that had a deep meaning, because they go back 10 years and go, don't really feel like that anymore. Or something, you know what I mean? So I feel like a band name is a bit similar. It should be just something that you're not going to say 10 times and feel like it's stupid.
Yeah. I think you need to, at the very least, like run it past your family, run it past your friends. And if at least you get to the first 5 and they think it's okay, then you know you're on a winner. Like, stick with it.
Yeah.
How do you go about writing your songs, and how do you do you have a particular process for the way that you do that? You know, do you do them together, or do you do them separately, or What's your process?
We do. Well, we started jamming at the beginning of times and getting some ideas together. But then I think it was the first album when COVID hit. We couldn't really see each other all the time, like every week. So I do a lot of demos at home. I got a little setup with just a little office space with speakers and guitar and that. So I'll write tunes or instrumental parts and that. And I will just got this group and we'll send it to the lads. So Kenny will write like a little acoustic guitar and a vocal and he'll send it to me or send it in the group. So I'll put it together and I'll make a demo of it. And that's the way it works now. So basically he'll send me like an idea. I've got this idea and send me like a verse and a chorus. And I'll think of it, and I'll go into the computer in Logic, and I'll do a demo with an intro, verse, chorus, or something like that, and then another verse, chorus, solo, or whatever. And then once we got like a structure, we'll present that to the lads and say, well, this is the way it goes, but obviously everything can change. So, and then once we got a structure with the tempo, Mark will come in and do some drums on it. Like sometimes it's just a demo, like a recording kind of rehearsal type of thing. I'll set it up with all and we'll throw some bits in it, and then we'll think about, okay, is this the way we want to take it? Yeah, okay, let's focus on doing better takes or redo the vocals or redo the drums or whatever. So which now it's quite easy because the studio set up, so it's not like in the old days where you have to jam, get the songs completely perfect as you want, and then go to the studio and record them. But yeah, or if anyone's got any ideas or anything, we'll just say, well, I got these. But mainly, like me and Kenny were just doing just the basic structure. Yeah. And then once we're recording, Mark will go, he'll play something. It's like, oh, that's amazing. So just try to develop that part a little bit more.
Right.
Or maybe the bass line, Andy will go, what do you think of this bass? And that might change the guitar riff or something like that. Or Jack will put some lead parts or some, I don't know, some chords, arpeggios or whatever. So that's the way we're doing it at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think there's, because obviously I speak to a lot of different songwriters and everyone kind of has their own way of going about it. But do you think it largely just comes down to just experimenting and just having fun with it? Or do you think it's like a method, graft? It's like start at 9,
you can do both really, because you could analyze songs that you like and maybe recreate something similar in terms of like, I don't know, some of our songs are more soul-y, some others are more like rocky, but I think once you got something catchy, you got a verse and a chorus, maybe it's kind of like the main thing for me, because once you got that, you can incorporate like an intro, solo, a chord progression or whatever. So I don't really have like a formula to say, yeah, I'm going to do this, and this. I might do at the beginning just to get a structure together and then say, okay, I'm going to do maybe like an intro verse chorus, then a double verse, another chorus or solo, whatever, and then put it together. But then I listen, I'll say, well, maybe it's too long, maybe just leave this part for experimentation and maybe just jam a little bit over it. But that's the way I write the music. I'm more like music writer. I don't really write lyrics that much. It's more Kenny does all that.
Right.
And he might just send me like a basic acoustic strums with some lyrics or a melody. He'll sing it to me, and I'll go and I'll write something to it. But this not really, like this is what we're gonna do this album. Yeah, it's sometimes some songs are like, well, this is quite soul-y, but maybe we can just adapt it to the other songs that we've got, or vice versa. So we got like a very heavy track. Maybe it's like, okay, if we're going to put it in an album, maybe just do it in a way that it's going to fit with others, or write other tunes that they're going to be in between.
Okay.
So yeah, that type of thing. Yeah. But that's usually how it's working at the moment.
In terms of, because songwriting often involves, like, it's not just the band or it's not just the songwriter. Sometimes it's, particularly people in a label system or a deal or something like that. Often it's like you have to please the label, you have to please the label.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of that. Yeah.
Have you guys ever encountered any of that yourselves, and have you had to, what would you say is like some good advice to get around that?
Well, I work with a lot of some writers in the studio and bands and that, because that's what I do for the job. But most of them, I've heard different stories. I've heard people that they dropped out of the labels because the label wanted them to change their style. So it's like, we really like your sound, you as a writer or as a songwriter, but we want you to do an album or an EP that sounds like this person or sounds like that kind of vibe. Because a label at the end of the day is a company, isn't it? So they just want to, they invest some money in you or as an artist, and in return they want to get that money back or whatever, a business model that they've got.
It's a business. Yeah.
So some artists are happy to do that and say, yeah, okay, I'll change my, my songwriting to that kind of, taking that, that path. Some others, they say, no, my music is what I love doing is this type of music. So, they want to stay away.
And it's precious. Yeah,
that's it. And I know, people that they've done that as well. And, kudos to them, because obviously they are doing, music is an art, but other people, they want to work as a musician and they don't really mind changing, because if they're quite versatile, they can just write tunes in different ways.
And often if you're versed with, do you want the money or do you want to be a song, like sometimes people are literally given that.
Exactly.
Often people are like, I'll take the money, thanks.
That's it. I mean, depends on the level that you are. Obviously, someone comes and say, you know what, I'm gonna pay you £1 million a year to write tunes for, pop tunes, and if you're a rock enthusiast, and it's like, oh, but £1 million is £1 million, so you probably go for it. But other people, I mean, at the levels of like young bands and unsigned bands, usually when the label comes along, it's not like a lot of money. It's more like, oh, we'll put your single out or your album out, we'll pay for it, and then you'll do some gigs and you get some money, back. But it's not like a lot of money.
Yeah, it's not like go and buy 3 houses. Money.
I think it really depends what the conversation is with your label.
Mark, in our situation, what were you going to say on the same subject? Sorry.
Not for Meg, man. I was just going to tag on to the end, like, because that's one thing we don't experience, because we're still DIY, we're still an independent band.
Yeah.
But I suppose the thing is, there's nothing wrong with going for the money. Like, that's the thing that's always like the stigma, sort of like, oh, you got to say to yourself, like, you do, but there's nothing wrong with people say making a compromise or something, and because they need to make a bit of ends meet from the money. So it's just how much of it is still you is in there, how much, how because it's telegraphed when it's not. I think you hear bands pull out stuff where they have just completely compromised everything they want to set out to do. And as long as you're still staying true to yourself, there's nothing wrong with like we're going towards, working towards the paycheck. But the second you lose it completely, the music shows, I think, doesn't it?
I completely agree. Yeah. And there's so many, as you said, there's so many times where you'll hear it in the music itself, where a band has literally, they've really compromised because of the producer they're working with, or under a different management or something like that. And it really has an influence on the style of music and everything. What, songwriting obviously has an impact on the live scene as well. How important do you think, there's a lot of emphasis now on Spotify streams, and you've got to get the numbers and all that stuff. But how I see you guys as like, you're a live band and you're out there and you're the road warriors. How important is it to build a live audience and perform live and be able to do it properly live?
I don't think it can ever really be replaced. I think there's always going to be a huge amount of like what you can do is going to be online, isn't there? And there's always going to be an argument for streams and for the content sort of stuff like. But I think there was a point in the last few years, especially like since lockdown, where everyone kind of thought the live stuff was. I don't think it's fully come back the way it used to be.
Right.
But
interesting.
I don't think. At least on the smaller scale of things, obviously the bigger gigs, but I think definitely the smaller scale stuff hasn't quite come back.
And a lot of venues have closed since then.
Especially around here. But I think if a band can do what they do online and take it on the road and do it live and show in person, I don't think that'll ever be completely replaced. I think I love that about us as well. I love that we're six guys who go out and we take what we're doing in the studio. We're going out and we're doing it. I wouldn't be doing it if we couldn't do it live.
And it's so much fun doing it live as well.
Yeah, man. But again, I think people like that, because it's one thing to sit on your phone, your laptop, and look at and listen and watch something. It's another to be seeing everyone do it in person live and have all that happening in the moment. So I don't think that I think that's probably more important than ever, being able to take that out live.
Jose, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I was just thinking, because I was having a conversation yesterday with someone with this band that I recorded about the impact of AI in music lately.
Right.
Which maybe was on the agenda for the questions, but you can create loads of stuff and content for audience online, TikTok, obviously Instagram, and a lot of bands feel like obliged and they have to do it these days just to, you know, expose their music to other people first, especially when you're starting out before doing a run of gigs or that. And it's hard, and I kind of like, you know, feel their pain sometimes. It's like, you know what, we're got to do these and these before we start actually going out there and touring, because we need to show people what we do first and then book gigs and that. And but that once you start, you know, the ball rolling, there's nothing like being around other people and enjoying music live, and that's why sometimes people get a little bit worried about the AI things in music. But when you're in a gig next to like so many people that are enjoying that music, and then, you know, you look at each other and you laugh, and then, you know, you go like, wow, that was great. Or there's nothing like a human interaction. And as a player as well, as, you know, as a fan, when I go and watch someone or when I'm playing, just, you know, just look at someone's eyes and they're like looking at you, and you do riffing or playing a solo, or, you know, doing this song, and they're all singing, or this, you know, you can't really replace that with anything, any electronic, you know, entity.
I completely agree.
It's a danger element.
Maybe you're onto something with the, you know, the AI thing. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me in the next 5 years, even, where AI could probably, you know, feasibly put together a finished song just by, you know, talking to it, and, you know, just, you know,
on the
phone and say, create a Dua Lipa song from scratch.
You can do that.
I'm sure
already.
you can do it now, you know.
Yeah.
So certainly the live scene, and like, you know, certainly investing in venues, investing in, you know, certainly a touring band, just investing in great material to do live has got to be an important thing. I should, like, surely I'd have thought so. What, you know, going on the flip side, what interest and what emphasis do you guys put on social media and streams and all that stuff? How do you go about it as well?
Being old and not understanding TikTok.
I mean, I'm on the socials, but you know, and I follow people on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. Obviously, Facebook is kind of like dying down a little bit. Instagram is at the top, I think, and TikTok is like, you know, it's going to replace Instagram, I think, in the future. But we are very lucky that we got Ste, our keys player. He's like the most organized guy in terms of like social media posting, keeping everyone updated, mailing lists, you know,
essentially a manager. If we had to put all of any of us in, it's basically he is. We joke and call him the captain. You got coined that. It's there's always that. I think in a good band, there's always that one guy who rallies everyone together and is the one burning his head out with all like the bookings and all the hotels, the logistics, everything, and that's Steve for us. So every time he gets brought up, we have to sort of express our appreciation of him.
Did that happen over time? You know, did you guys kind of find him and select him and go, you do it, or was it just
he's
kind
always,
of, you know, naturally?
It's always been
like that.
He's always been the best at it out of all of us. Yeah,
interesting.
I completely interrupted you, by the way, Jose. Sorry about that.
No. I was just I wasn't agreeing with what you were saying. Yeah,
there's so many bands that find themselves in a position where, you know, they're just about to go and they're about to do something. They've got some great music, and then because of that, they can't organize and they can't communicate with each other. Like, you know, like you just said, a mailing list, some social media, or, you know, booking the gigs, all the obvious stuff. It has to happen via someone. So of course, you know, you're in a great place if you've got like your own access, you know, someone with a bit of knowledge who's willing to do that. Do you, you know, reimburse them anyway with finance or something, or do you know, lots and lots of drugs, or, you know, is there,
well, how much can we say on it?
Name of the band? Is it all in the name of the, you know, the team?
He's very much. There have been a couple of discussions about him taking a little off the top, like, and he doesn't want to. He's very much sort of
because he believes in the.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. Like, I've seen him. I couldn't do the job he does. Like, I mean, even on our level, which isn't massive, right? It's very independent DIY still. But I couldn't act on the stuff he does. Well, so the conversation came up. I think you brought up, didn't you, about possibly a bit of reimbursement, a bit of like, you know, like even taking a day off from one day off from his job and taking a bit from the band. Like, he just went, nah.
Wow, that's really good of him. Yeah, that's really good of him. But, you know, it's also you know, it takes a lot to organize, but it takes so much, you know, effort and time and everything to write the songs and to, you know, being in a functioning band and in the music industry, it just takes so much. How do you guys, you know, balance it with like work and life? Mark, obviously we met in the barbers.
Yeah.
We've got a chat about that. But you know, like there's constantly, I think everybody I know, even the mega musicians who are, you know, in massive bands, they always have kind of secondary, third, you know, quadruple lives where it's like they're just
Projects.
trying to sort of balance the plates. How do you guys make that work for yourselves? And especially as there's so many of you, six of you, you know, how do you make the band work?
I think, well, Google Calendars helps, but other than that, it's very as we go. Like you mentioned the barbers there. One of the reasons I became a barber was sort of to work it around the band life, because I used to work in an office.
Right.
And then years ago, I just got really fed up with the 9 to 5, then trying to work the gigging in. And a mate got me into barber, and just kind of like I kind of like, without going into a tangent about what that was all about, I kind of saw a lot of parallels between barbering and music, where I just went, I get this. I can do this as a job and then do, but the great thing was I could go fully self-employed. So that was one of the ways I sort of worked around it. So I can work hours that suit me with the band,
right.
as long as I'm making sure I can pay my bills and everything like that. And there's a lad who owns the shop I'm in, but in the old job, you were at the bay of the team diary, booking time off, and if there was a tour booked or a gig booked, and I'm sorry, there's 3 people taking leave that day. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to stay. So like, you know,
Yeah.
But now it's very much like, can I hack taking this day off to go to this gig? Yeah, I'll just work an extra day here, and I can decide that for myself.
Interesting.
And
Jose,
then,
is it something similar for you where you're sort of balancing things, or are you full time?
Yeah. I mean, I'm me and Mark were, and I think we are the two fully self-employed people in the band, so it's easier for us. I mean, obviously taking care of the bills and that. We can say, like, you know, we got a gig on Friday in London. We have to travel in the morning, so can we take the day off? Yeah. You know, we'll be there. So it's easier for us just to say, obviously we're not working, we're not generating any income, but we can always work around it. And as Mark was saying, we've got a tour or whatever, we can always book that day, about that week, and then, you know, make up different dates. It's like, you know, it's one of them. It's much easier. It requires more work, because at the end of the day, you have to, you know, work more hours or whatever.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just like, it's like my job, really, because, you know, I'm recording bands and making music every day. So with the band, it's just pure, I mean, it's pure joy working in this environment. I'm very lucky. But with the band, it's just like hanging out with my mates and playing music. So it's the best thing in the world. So, you know,
so it's a labor of love.
Complain, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
How is it? Do you ever encounter, you know, things with the other guys in the band? Do you ever find where it's like, oh, so and so can't get out of their job on Saturday? So do you find that happens? You know?
we've been quite fortunate so far. There haven't been too many. There have been a few occasions where we've had to reschedule something, but there's never been anything sort of like everyone panicking, going, "Oh God, our bassist or our singer can't make this." There's one gig, there's one gig that Steve couldn't do, the keyboard player, and but it wasn't too bad. I put him on backing track. I got him around here and recorded all the
he did record it a few days before, so it was, you know, it was there in, you know, not the body wasn't there, but the actual pain was there.
The spirit
was.
That's the only. There's been a couple of gigs where maybe. I mean, that's one of the only ones where a member couldn't make it. And like I said, I put him on a track. It was all right.
Yeah. I think it was on holiday somewhere. It was like in Greece or whatever. I can't remember what it was. Yeah, and
but it wasn't that it's where we've been quite fortunate so far, where there's never been like cancelling a massive opportunity or anything like that.
No,
quite fortunate in that. Like,
we're always like up
how
for
often
it.
do you guys get to rehearse and stuff? Because one of the questions that I sort of tend to ask everyone is, how important is it for you to hone your musical skills? Because some people I've spoken to, they're like, nah, grab a guitar, off you go, you know. And then you know, some musicians are like, I've practiced 8 hours a day, it must be perfect, you know. How does it work for you guys? How much do you believe that's the case?
I think it depends. I think it depends what you're doing, because I feel like I feel better playing with people. I'll be honest with you, I'm the worst person to practice. It's maybe because I can't have a drum kit here. My drums are in the studio where José is right now. No one should take any advice off me. I hate playing on a pad. I hate it. I don't. So I don't. I really, really rarely practice, and I just enjoy it so much more when I'm playing in a room with people. And I felt like when I was younger, when I joined my first bands, because there was about a 5-year gap before I joined a band from starting to play drums, and my skill level when it improved so much just playing in a room with people than the first 5 years of playing. Like the increments I went up by were so much better.
Yeah.
So I think it depends how you do it, but for me, it's practicing with people is the best thing you can do. Playing in a responding to things live.
What do you think, José? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I started at the beginning of this band. We did a lot of practicing. We just practiced for a year, non-stop every week until we were like tight and we knew each other. And that's why now it's much easier. So we don't really have to practice all the time. Because depends on which season we are. So if we got a tour coming, we'll do a few weeks before, we'll do practice the set and make sure we're tight. For example, we had 3 shows. How many shows have we had, Mark, last month? Like 3 or 4 shows. So we've done a little bit of practicing before that, and then the shows kind of like keep us on track with we're playing with each other live and that, and we're pretty tight. Now we got a few weeks until the next show, which is in March. We play in Sheffield, one of these all-day festivals, and now, so these few weeks that we got up to there, maybe a couple of weeks before, we'll do a few rehearsals. But at the moment, we're working something else that obviously, I don't know whether you know it today. The pre-orders for our live albums come out today.
Yes.
So I'm in the middle of working on that. The mixes and that's all recorded. Everything's been recorded and edited. So just basically going through mixing process. So I'm taking the opportunities on rehearsal day, just to go through, listen to it, and then do some mixing on it. But when we get to 2 weeks before the gig, we'll get together and do it. So it just depends if we got another tour next year or whatever, we'll probably smash the rehearsals. But I prefer jamming with someone. Rather than learn the songs at home and then get together and do the rehearsal. It's more fun. But yeah, we've done that in the past, so it just depends on what is coming,
which avenue you want to go down.
Yeah.
And also when you practice songs, I know from myself, I with a vengeance hate studio time, and I hate rehearsal rooms. I can't do them, and I find that my time is kind of very much like what you said, Mark, where I really come alive when I'm kind of on the stage and in the moment, and I'll do all my practice at home, and then on the stage I'll be like, right, here we go, and I just love that feeling of I wonder what's going to happen, and I love that, and I really thrive off that. But I find really intense, do it again, rehearse it again, rehearse it, the same. It builds it for me, and that's often my experience in the studio as well.
I think that can work when I was going to add on to what I said, with the whole practice thing. It depends what you want to do as well. We play our own songs, so I only really need to be rehearsed for our songs.
Yeah, right.
But I feel like if you wanted to branch, I do a bit of session stuff with José, but I feel like a lot of the people I know who are in that deep session world, in that sort of depth world, in that world where they kind of have to be on, they turn up to the gig and they've got half an hour to maybe chart out a song and then play it flawlessly. They're probably drilling at home quite a lot.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean, to be able to do that kind of stuff. Whereas I'll go into sessions and work out tunes with José and record drums with them, but for the most part, the songs that I'm playing the same set every single night. So I've got to be rehearsed for that.
So the best rehearsal is a beer beforehand,
I don't drink, man. No, that was just ruining an already sort of questionable performance.
How important do you think it is, to network for bands? Of course, you were saying that you're very sort of DIY and stuff. I mean, a lot of people, they spend a lot of time trying to network and meet managers and meet or do you think it's beneficial to just kind of stay in your lane, do your craft, and they come to you? What's your advice on that?
I think I've been back and forth. So I remember when this is the point just before I met Jose and everyone. I tried to go down that sort of like, oh, I need to network, I need to meet people, I need to contact everyone I can think of. And I think people can just tell when you're not being genuine, when you're trying to make that contact. Because all the best contacts I've ever had came when I did not expect them, like cutting your hair.
Yeah, right.
Meeting you, completely just having a conversation.
Yeah.
And then you hit up and said, oh, do you want to come have a chat? Like that's the best kind of one, I think. I've done it in the past where it's like sending emails out and trying to, and I think networking is so important, but it's almost the best one to come when you don't realize you're doing them. When you're just being a sound person, you just chat to someone backstage with a producer, and you don't even realize that you've left an impact on them or something.
Yeah,
it's when you're going out there thinking, I'm gonna make this contact.
I know.
That's when it almost doesn't work. You know what I mean?
I've done networking events as well, where I've and it's a net. I don't know. Have you guys ever been to like a networking night or anything like that? And they're excruciating, and you're like, here's my card. Like
I'd be terrible at that. I just wouldn't even know who to speak to. But I hope that makes sense. It's just like I got to a point where it was like all the best stuff I've been doing lately has just been because I just met sound people and just got chatting to them, and then just stuff just happened after. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And is that the same for you as well, Jose? Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think when we were younger, we wanted to, do more networking and try to be there and meet people and that, and just to realize like it doesn't work. It just, you got to be. I'm a big believer of like work hard. You got a target. You're enjoying something. Just keep doing it, and everything. I mean, we'll come. I'm not saying don't do anything. Just you wait and.
Yeah, I should have said then. You've got to be doing something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm not saying like, but it's always like momentum will lead to something eventually, however fast. You know what I mean?
That's great advice. Exactly. Something will happen eventually.
It's just a case of when. As long as you have momentum, it might take longer, it might take less time, but it's physics. It will just it will reach there eventually.
It'll keep rolling forward. Yeah. So going back to like the Heavy North and your music and your performances and everything. To what extent do you think it's important to craft and make sure that you have a unique identity?
I think we got a unique identity already because our music, especially Kenny, our singer, is someone that you haven't heard before in the scene, in like Liverpool scene, Northwest. It's like no one's got a voice like him, and because he could be doing all the styles if he wanted to, but because he comes from soul music and he loves the Rolling Stones and that type of thing. When you are in the room with him in a little venue, and then he starts, sometimes we've been doing sound check, and the guy will go, let's try the vocal mic, and he'll start singing a cappella. Everyone will turn around, like the staff there, the bar, whoever is there will go like, wow. And then I still think to myself, it's like, bloody hell, he's amazing. We won't play this to him because he said we'll go too big for No, but honestly, it's such a unique sound that I don't know, it just is amazing to hear. And so anything we do, I think obviously I try to make the songs interesting, and he's got his style. Will send me some ideas and that, and then when everyone joins together, it sounds like us. We can try do different styles, but we always sound like the Heavy North, we can try different vibes or whatever, but when you listen to it, it's like that's Kenny, that's Heavy North. And
interesting. And that's not like it's almost it kind of just happens by accident that is just the sound that you guys make when you're together. Would you agree, Mark? What do you think?
Yeah. I was even going to say just then, it's almost tied to that whole sort of like that networking thing. Almost when I've always kind of felt like when you try, it's important to be unique, but almost when you try to be unique, it doesn't sound unique. So almost like the most unique you can be is just by doing it how you feel it should be, and that'll kind of come through. Because it's like that thing where you force it doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like there's some music I love that isn't massively groundbreaking or isn't massively like reinventing the wheel or anything, but because they're just putting some of themselves and they're just doing what they want to do, it comes through. Like kind of their individuality kind of comes through it. even though it's a style
Right.
of music you might have heard before, because they're just doing it naturally. So it's almost like
Mm.
that networking thing where if you try and force it, it won't happen.
Definitely,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
I agree. I agree. Yeah, like you say, it becomes like the networking thing. When you force it, it just becomes really unnatural and clunky
yeah.
and
Yeah,
strange.
you
Yeah,
can feel, yeah.
yeah. Lots and lots of bands, they obviously experience the the industry climb where they're sort of, we started off playing to 5 people, now it's 10 people, now it's 50 people, then we sold out this venue, and then this, and then interest, and people are talking about us or press or whatever. That's all part of the great side of it that's we all know and love and think is amazing. But there's obviously that other side to it where it's, sometimes it's really deeply disappointing with stuff where you go, oh, we didn't quite sell enough tickets, or we didn't quite do this or anything. To what extent do you guys think it's important to be resilient in the industry, and to, kind of ignore the naysayers, or to, or listen to them, or, what do you think?
I reckon the resilience, you said, yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah. Sure. Yeah. I reckon so, because it's like you were saying. Then you feel like the sort of upward climb, and like I say, we're still only doing like very DIY stuff here, even, but even at that level, it's the anxiety when you're waiting for ticket sales to come through. It's putting a track out and thinking, is anyone going to like this, and
right.
all that weighs on you as well a little bit. I think so. I think keeping resilient through that is because it never stops, even before the gig, even
Of
before the
course.
release. I think it's all there because you're anticipating stuff and you're waiting to see if there's the payoff, and then maybe it did pay off and maybe it didn't, and then you bum down about that. So I think resilience, definitely you need it, like, but it's like not but you got to still be able to enjoy it as well. But
Do you think that's the key? Is the key to, to that, to navigating that, just to enjoy it?
I think so. Yeah, I think remember why you enjoy it as well, because there are going to be times, especially in the band scene, in the original band scene, where it is a graft. I think it's really easy to get burnt out. So very easy to start wondering, like, oh, nothing's going to happen with this, or like, oh, am I even enjoying this anymore? I think as long as it's there, you might forget every now and again, but as long as you come back to it, I think that's massively important. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's the key to powering through all that stuff.
Jose, what do you think? Do you think the same thing? Or?
Yeah, I mean, first thing, it's enjoy what you're doing. Never feel like when you're in a band, it feels like a job or anything like that. It's like, oh,
Mm.
okay, we've got to do these and we've got to sell so many tickets and all. Just what I say to bands that come here and they ask me all the time, it's like, how can we get support or how can we do these? And I say, well, if you're only starting out, just focus in enjoying what you do first. Get a nice, bunch of songs, a good set that is entertaining, that you enjoy doing, and then, try to get with other bands that are at your same level, and then go out there, book a venue yourselves if you want to do it, or get in touch with a promoter or whatever, and see if you can get like small gigs first. Show yourself, and people will like it if you're enjoying it, and they like the music, and you see a band that they're enjoying themselves, that they look at each other, they laugh, they even when if they make a mistake or whatever, they're having fun and they sound
Yo.
good. You'll get hooked to that type of band as well, and then that'll generate more like a bigger fan base, and then maybe you're playing the first day to 20 people, but then maybe next time you play 2 months after or 3 months after, maybe it's 50 and it'll go up. So I'd say, I know it could be sometimes a bit frustrating at the beginning. It's like start playing guitar and you go like, oh, I know 2 chords, and it's like I can't really progress that much, and then you'll see there's a point that you kind of like, okay, I can do this and this, and then you carry on. So first thing for me is like enjoy what you do. Obviously music has to be decent, some kind of like music that you enjoy and other people can enjoy otherwise. But yeah, but enjoy yourself and try the best you can, and that's the best you can do. But don't be like feeling like I've got to do this and these, and then if it starts feeling like an obligation, it's not worth it.
It's not worth it. Yeah, I agree. I agree. So what's next then for the Heavy North? What's happening this year? We're at 26th of February 2024. What's on the calendar for this year?
So
What we got?
go on,
Mark. Well, we got a gig on. Well, we got gigs coming. Obviously, we got this Sheffield gig on the 23rd of March, which is like an all day on Network Sheffield. We played there a couple of times, and it was quite good. So there's a few bands joining us there, and then we got this. Obviously, this live album that is coming out. So the pre-orders are on, and this like limited 250 vinyls, so they're going to come out.
I'm so excited to hear that, mate. I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah,
I mean, I can just send you. I can send you some of the mixes,
mate. Please do. I'd love to. Yeah.
Please. We'll definitely. Yeah, I mean, at the moment, where are we? I can't really reveal how many we've done, but we got a few. But yeah, it's the gig we did at Camp and Fairness in December, it got recorded. So basically, it was filmed as well. So we got the plans of putting that out in like a premiere theater in town, and then we hopefully put it in Amazon Prime and YouTube, and obviously the vinyls are going to come out, CDs as well. And then we're just waiting for like some dates. I mean, the summer we've got a couple already. September we're going to Gibraltar, hopefully Spain. Some of the opportunities of like supporting bigger bands, like we did Dirty Honey 3 weeks ago in Manchester. So it's good to have like them supports, because they're like bigger bands coming on tour from America, and then I think the fans that they like that band, they really liked our band as well, and they told us after the gig, so that kind of builds more fan base for you. And but yeah, and then we're writing as well. Me and Kenny are in the process of putting this, but we got a bunch of songs, quite a lot. So hopefully aiming for another album.
Brilliant.
Early next year, but just basically just writing, making sure the songs make sense together. Writing demos, as we were saying before. So there's quite a few there already. So there's always something happening.
Yeah, and it's as you were talking, I was sort of smiling, because it's like you ask any band, any artist at all, and you say like, what's happening, and the list is like, right, there's all that needs doing.
Just good.
Yeah, well, I think that the big one for this year will be the live album. I think, though, which is one of those ones where when we set out to do it, or it was already one of the biggest headliners we've done ourselves, and then the added pressure of knowing it's being recorded.
Yeah. Don't mess it up, Mark. Don't mess it up.
I did. I made a horrendous one. And it stuck with me right through the rest of the set. I hated myself. But it's one of those. But again, it's one of those ones where it wasn't show stopping, and it's part of that show now. You know what I mean? Like, and it's great having it. But that was the thing going through my head. Like, it was like, oh, this is the biggest headline we've done. Oh yeah, it's getting recorded as well.
No pressure.
Permanence. But like, it's great. Like it was cool doing something of that scale, and that's like, so I don't know many bands on our level who are doing a full live album as well. So
no, I think it's really
people who haven't seen us what we are like live as well. It's beefed up again by having like the extra players, like the strings and the horns, everything, who were like recorded on the album and everything. So
oh man, that's so good. That's so superb.
Putting it out, it's going to be. I think we're really proud.
I bet that was amazing fun as well on the stage. Just like
big stage, lots of musicians. It was great. Yeah,
we played with them before as well. We've done it before. I think we've almost set a standard for ourselves. Actually, we did it last. It was the end of the last bigger tour we did, where we did the Arts Club Theatre at the end of it.
Right.
And we had the same people out of the start. It was the Northern String Quartet, Rosalie Molly, the backing singers, and Lozette and Steve, the trumpet and sax players. And it was the same thing, but we were crammed on a much smaller stage. So we've already played with all of them. So we had to Camp and Fairness. It was very familiar, but just felt much more comfortable because we had the space to.
Yeah, of course. It's a venue, isn't it?
Yeah. So it wasn't all new. We winged the first one with Arts Club. It was like we didn't even know if we were going to be able to fit everyone on stage. And this time it was just much more comfortable. Like,
I can't wait. I really can't wait to hear that. That's going to be great. Okay, I'm mindful of the time, so let's wrap up with this final question then. So, I teach a lot of students as well, and I do masterclasses and things, and sort of, everyone always kind of Jose, what you were saying before. How do you get a manager? How do you get this? How do you get started? How do you start? So you just kind of, what would you say is just kind of, if you're a young musician and you're like, I love the Heavy North, I really want to follow in their footsteps. I've got my own band, I want to get out there, I want to do it. What would you say is like really good advice, just some tips that they could put to use now and get started on the journey?
Go to start, Jose?
Yeah, well, I mean, first thing is, as what we were saying before, enjoy what you're doing, especially if you do with your bunch of mates. It's just, live the moments when you're writing songs with them, when you're having fun, when you know, having a laugh and that. And that's the precious moments for me. And when we're together, even like, you know, go on tour in the van, stuff like that, or just writing a tune or whatever. In terms of more like serious work, at the beginning, obviously make sure you got a set that it makes sense. Like, you know, got a good half an hour or 40 minutes that you can entertain people when you're playing. And, you know, if you like the tunes and you join it, they like it. I guarantee you that. And in terms of like what we were saying before about booking gigs, contacting promoter, have something that you can show them, like even record a track or two, or, you know, with someone, and then, you know, you got some material to show them. And then after that, start getting into, can we just get a support? Can we open for this band? Or, you know, get little gigs first and then build up. That's how we started. We just started doing little things first, and then, you know, it built up a little bit more. Obviously, we've been doing it now for how long, Mark? About 5 years. So, you know, it makes sense to do it like that. And obviously, I don't want to say a work ethic, but it's enjoy what you do, but keep doing it. You know, put the work in terms of like, you know, even if it's something that you enjoy, you just carry on. Because sometimes it can get a little bit quiet. It's like, oh, there's not many gigs happening. It was like, you know, chat to other people and maybe all the friends in bands and what's happening. Are you gigging? Or do you mind if we open for you? Can we just do this? So that type of thing. So do stuff with your band all the time, and that'll take you. Yeah, that's it. Consistency. That's right.
Right. Mark, over to you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you've probably heard this before. Like, this is just a piece of advice that I heard once, and it's been posted around a few places now. But I remember the first time I heard it, and I was just like, really made sense to me. But it was someone saying there's 3 things you need to look for in a good gig, and it's 3 factors you need to be aware about. One is the music. It's whether you like the music or not, or if you're writing music that you enjoy. It's the hang are the people in this project, people you can see yourself being with for long periods of time and you enjoy their company. And the money, are you making money off it? And what type of band you're in will affect what factors are there. But if you get 2 or 3 of those factors, you've got a good gig.
Right.
So like if you're in a function band, you're probably more concerned about the money and the hang, and you're not as bothered with the music. If you're in an originals band, you're not going to have a choice. You're not going to be that bothered about the money. So you're going to want to be bothered about the music and the hang. So that was one of my favorite things I've heard. And it helped me sort of like break down like early on sort of what like, is this a band I can see myself being in for a while? Is it always, or you if that makes sense. So,
helps you to prioritize what's important.
That'll help inform what kind of band or what kind of project you want to go for. Is it going to be something that's originals, covers? Is it maybe it's session work or something like that? And it just helps keep your priorities in check, I think.
Interesting.
And another general one is, I don't think it ever hurts to have a basic level of knowledge of production and recording, because the amount of studios I've gone to as a drummer, and I'm not using my degree as much as I should be, but just walking into a studio, I'm sure Jose, when I walked into yours the first time, having a basic knowledge of the mic placements and how things are being recorded, being able to play to a click track and all that kind of things, producers love it. So when a band goes into the studio for the first time, and I don't think you have to know exactly how to produce a whole record, but just knowing what's in front of you and how it's all working, basically.
And the process, just generally the order of events.
Yeah, people you work with, sound engineers and producers, they're all going to love like an early band who's made that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Be nice to people, and especially when you play live, be nice to the sound guy, because it's going to make you sound good and respectful,
your
helpful.
Best friend of the gig.
Turn up to sound check in time. If you can't make it, so get in touch with them, say, look, we can't for whatever reason, and we'll be able to do a line check. Just be respectful. And when you are in the studio, well rehearsed, please. That's what I'm telling you, because you're paying for that. So make sure you make the most of it. That's what I say to people. And obviously they can, depends on the band. Mark is a drummer, professional drummer as well. He does a lot of sessions as well for me, and it's it is a professional drummer, so he comes, he'll learn the song, he knows how to play to a click and stuff like that. If you're a band coming to record and you want to get your stuff out there, just make sure your song is well rehearsed, and you know how to get it out, and I'll help you to get that out and record it properly. But it's the band in your power, rehearse, have fun, write good tunes, and make sure you're tight.
Yeah. Interesting, guys. Thank you so much for chatting today. I really, really, really appreciate that you're taking the time, and thanks again.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Yeah, hopefully catch you soon.
All right, guys. Thank you. Bye.
So,
Take
man,
care.
I'll catch you later.
I'll see you soon, Mark, for